It's Toronto's podcast on the Canada's Podcast Network.
Hi everyone, I'm Leslie. I'm a host on Canada's podcast here in Toronto, and today we're talking to Kristin Topping. She's the owner of SweetLife Flora, an e-commerce retail store for tropical plants based out of Ottawa. Kristin is also a veteran. She served 21 years in the Canadian Armed Forces, so we're very happy to have her here on the show and excited that it comes to us and that we're able to have her on the show just in time for Remembrance Day. So Kristin, welcome to Canada's podcast, and thank you for coming. So I guess let's start off with, can you tell us a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur and how you, who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I started out a little bit different than a lot of other people. I joined the military when I was 17, right out of high school, and I went to military college. So at military college, you've got all of your leadership and education that you have to focus on and everything like that. So I got a really great lead up into building skills that would make me a great entrepreneur. Also, my military background, I'm an engineer and a scientist. So most of the time I spent at research centers, and I taught at military college for about 7 years. And then I did project management when I went to Ottawa. So I think that as an officer in the Canadian Forces, I've really gained the knowledge and the leadership that I need to be able to have a successful business.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell us a little bit about why you actually chose to get started with SweetLife Flora, like why you chose to go that direction in your
Sure. So SweetLife Flora is an e-commerce plant shop for rare, hard-to-find plants. We also sell some regular plants that you would find at a nursery or greenhouse, but most of it is like stuff that you have to like search for, and you get the thrill of the search. So I got into this because I've really always been into plants. Like my Nana growing up had so many African violets, you couldn't even walk into her house. My mom had this massive window with all of these plants, so I've really grown up with it. And so my plants followed me from posting to posting, and they were like a centering thing for me. Like I was able to come home from a hard day at work, take care of my plants. So I have a history of concussions. I played rugby at military college, and then in 2016, I got a concussion that absolutely changed my life. It changed fundamentally who I was, how I problem solve, how I hear, how I see. It was a heartbreaking experience. But what actually saved me and made me feel like I had purpose was my plant collection. I started collecting plants. I started keeping track of how I was taking care of them. And then my plant collection got to a point where my husband was like, "You should do something about this. We don't have a lot of space anymore. You're going to have to like start selling some of these." And I was like, "Oh, that's it. That's what I need to do." Because prior to that, my recovery wasn't going the best. I was pretty sure that I was going to be medically released from the military, and I felt obligated to go out and find a job. So I was looking for jobs that were exactly like what I couldn't do in the military anymore, which made no sense. A friend of mine and my sister, who's also in the military, both of them are in the military, had an intervention with me in a very public place. And they were like, "Kristin, you have to listen to us. You cannot go back and work the same type of job that you were just doing that is causing you so much stress and heartache." So that's when Prince's Trust stepped in, a not-for-profit set up by Prince Charles, who really trains military people and also medically releasing military people on how they can use the skills they got in the military in order to become a successful entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So I've been taking part in that program, and it's been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Is Princess Trust, it's across the country, and is it across the globe as well?
So it's really a Commonwealth thing. So there's a Princess Trust Canada, there's a Princess Trust UK, and I believe there's a Princess Trust Australia as well. So the focus is, they've got like a multi-tiered focus, but one of their primary focuses is really entrepreneurship and getting military people out, starting businesses, becoming independent. It also really helps with your purpose as you're leaving the military, which is something that's really important to me because I've been in since I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's like to adult in the real world without being in uniform.
Yeah, absolutely. So Princess Trust, I know we were talking a little bit before we started the podcast, but it did help you with mentorship as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's 3 stages to the program. The first stage is like a 1-day business introduction. Like, this is something that you could do, a familiarization. You could become an entrepreneur when you leave the military. You don't necessarily have to go out and get another government job. This is something that you have the skills to do. And then folks who have a more developed idea and who are ready to take their business to the next level are selected to go on different boot camps during the year. Now, the boot camp is basically a 5-day entrepreneurship workshop. And you go deep into, it's almost like a 1-semester how to start your own business snapped into 5 days. It's phenomenal. And then after that, people who are interested can join the mentorship program, which is they pair you with another person who has business experience, finance experience, entrepreneurship experience. So you're really able to get the whole experience from them and get assistance and advice and throw ideas off of them. So my mentor has been absolutely wonderful. One of the best things I've ever done.
So your mentor, is she in Ottawa? Because I know you're based out of Ottawa.
Right.
Do they pair you with somebody who's in your city?
I actually specifically asked for someone that I could do like over computer conversations with. So I'm paired with
Awesome.
a gentleman from Toronto. He has a lot of finance corporate bank experience, but he's also a contractor. So he's an entrepreneur in his own way. And he's got a totally and completely different experience than I do. So I'm able to bounce ideas off him, stuff that I didn't think about before, because as an engineer, I'm pretty focused on thinking about technical specifications, like the project management, like bundle, but I don't think about things like legal or accounting. So he's really helped me with that.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of being in Ottawa, like do you do a lot of business in Ottawa? I know SweetLife Flora is e-commerce, so you're probably doing a lot of business online, but how do you feel about being an entrepreneur in Ottawa?
So I actually live in Arnprior, which is a little outside of Ottawa. Yeah, I do deliveries within Ottawa. I've actually become really close to the whole plant community in Ottawa, so I have a lot of friends. I'm also friends with a lot of the local businesses as well. Terravelta, the stock market, all of these guys have been incredibly supportive in helping me start my business. We've made sure that each of us has a different niche so that we're not overlapping each other. I think that's something that's very unique to the plant type of business, is that we all work together because ultimately we're all looking to make other people happy, because plants really they focus on your health. They focus on having a purpose that's outside of what you do every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I have all my plants in the background.
Yeah, I see them. Very well.
I feel the same way about plants. I can't live in an environment without them. I feel like they just bring fresh air, like a breath of fresh air, and literally they do.
Even when I was at military college, I had cactus.
You had cactus? Yeah. Something that you really couldn't kill.
Low maintenance, like didn't need a lot of light, like something that like could live in a dorm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that moss wall behind you, I just want to draw attention to it, but it's super cool, and I definitely want one for my house.
So it was actually made by another one of my planty friends, the urban botanist. So
Awesome.
again, we all like share and collaborate and we're a part of each other's success.
That's awesome. And they're Ottawa based as well?
Absolutely.
Urban botanist. Very cool. So what are some of the challenges of doing business in Ottawa?
So I think the first challenge was doing business out of my home. It's really hard to separate all the tasks that I need to do during the day with all the tasks I need to do for my business. And then at the same time, having to juggle medical appointments because I'm still in rehabilitation. So that's why online is really important to me. Hopefully I'll have a storefront and a greenhouse soon, but I really need to like sort out the business learning process first, get my medical appointments sorted out and my week a bit more cleared up, and then I'll be able to really focus on my business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I know it is difficult when you're working from home, and then I mean, you're not used to it, right? Because if you're from the corporate world or if you're from military, you're used to that team environment and such a shift.
Absolutely. So not only do I not have the team environment anymore, but I also have to like prevent myself from sleeping in the morning, which is something like I've never gotten to sleep in before. So it's something that I'm starting to balance my day a bit better.
Yeah.
So rehab was like a complete kick in the bum for me. So I go from sleeping like 18 hours a day after my concussion to like, oh my gosh, I need to make money and start my business, to wanting to work all the time. So I'm having to manage and to pace myself a little bit.
Yeah, because when you're passionate about it, you just want to like, well, I was working till like midnight last night, just trying to, because you get passionate about it, right? And I know people work far past midnight, but when you love doing it, it's hard to stop yourself.
Exactly. My husband has had to call me up for supper a few times.
Yeah.
You need to eat. It's kind of important.
It's nice that he's cooking.
Yeah. Oh, I don't cook.
I don't either, not too much. So.
If I want to eat and he doesn't want to eat craft dinner, he has to cook meals.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. What would make you recommend Ottawa to other entrepreneurs who are looking to start a business there?
So there's an amazing like business community. There's lots of different organizations out there that really support the social aspect of the business, networking, getting yourself out there. So I guess like 3 weeks ago, a friend invited me to go to an ESAX event. I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but it's like an entrepreneurship social engagement opportunity. And the theme of it was women in business. So they brought entrepreneurs from Ottawa that are female, and they had a panel. And it was a really great opportunity just to get out, meet people, let people know what SweetLife Flora is, but also to learn from their experience. Mm-hmm. So there's other groups out there that do the same thing. Like there's ones that are specific to military. There's ones that are specific. It's just a really neat environment. And Princess Trust also helps us by giving us those contacts. So if we do want to reach out, we can absolutely do that.
That's awesome. So with Princess Trust, do you guys have like follow-up meetings, and like what kind of resources do they offer you guys as you go along?
Well, they have Buy Veteran. So if you go to buyveteran.ca, it's a directory that is filled with different businesses that have been started by veterans and by military people. So it's a really cool opportunity where, say, if you need, you need plants, you can look me up on Buy Veteran. If you need your car wrapped, you can find someone to do that. Like, it's amazing the breadth of different businesses there are on Buy Veteran. But also with the mentorship program, I do have periodic follow-ups with someone from Princess Trust just to make sure, that the match is still suiting me, to do check-ins and to make sure everything's going okay. But plus there's also these great opportunities like this with Canada's podcast, where they set up opportunities for us to network our business, to talk a little bit about Princess Trust, buy veteran, and also to just get our name out there. This is all Princess Trust.
That's amazing. Like, what a great support for other veteran entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
So some of our best ideas come when we least expect them. How do you disconnect and recharge? Like, how do you balance that entrepreneur life with everyday life?
So my husband will really say that since my concussion, I've become an extreme introvert. So I really get my energy from just completely unplugging, disconnecting. One of the biggest parts of my job is actually social media. So because I'm an e-commerce site, I need to get myself out there, put restocks online, let people know what's going on. So when I need to recharge, I disconnect. I will take a few hours off of social media, which is actually a pretty hard thing to do because I pride myself on being available to my customers, but sometimes I just need a break. Also, I've got, you probably hear them, I have animals. So animals were also a big part of my recovery. So we have 3 dogs and 2 cats, and I spend a lot of time with them.
That's good. So, and that recharging, do you find it helps you be more productive when you get back to?
Absolutely. So I have a little bit of this is probably left over from being in the military for so long. I'm actually still in until July 2020, but I have this thing where I keep to-do lists everywhere. And I mean, they're sticky noted to everything. I've got them on my phone. I have reminders. So when one of those reminders goes off that I need to do something, I'm like, all right, let's do it. And now I'm excited to do it, which is so cool. For a long time, I wasn't excited about a lot. So I really feel like I'm where I need to be now.
Yeah, it's hard when you're going through something hard. It's hard to get excited about, be passionate anything. So I'm really glad that you found that you started SweetLife Flora and found Princess Trust.
Me too.
Ignite that spark. That's really good.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. Yeah,
it's really important. And I think that's what, igniting that spark is what every entrepreneur needs to go through to start it, right? And realize that idea and then go in and actually start their business.
Absolutely. So I went to the boot camp with a pretty solid idea of what I wanted to do. But when I was there, it gave me the time to focus on being able to put it all together because I never made time for myself before. So it really just gave me the opportunity to bring it all together. And then I launched my website 2 weeks after I left the boot camp. Because
did you launch your website? Did you build it by yourself or did you work with?
I did.
Awesome.
I did. Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I do have a little bit of experience in computer programming and things like that I got from my military college experience in engineering. So I was able to build my own website, personalize it, make it exactly mine, which is wonderful. And I like having that little bit of control too.
Because you have a really nice site. I've taken a look at it and it's it's very, very nice. So
Thank you very much.
Friendly.
I worked very hard on it.
It shows. All right. So what gets you most excited about your business these days?
It's the thrill of the hunt. So I did a show on the weekend, and again, to promote Princess Trust and things like that. And since that radio show, I've gotten 6 or 7 emails from people being like, I think you're exactly the person I need. I'm looking for this specific plant. There's a chocolate shop actually just north of Kingston who's looking for cocoa trees because they do they do a little introductory workshop and show how they make the chocolate, and then they want to have a cocoa tree. So I've been looking for cocoa trees. It's just a really I love being able to find something that other people are looking for, and it's really the thrill of the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do it just for myself because I wanted a specific plant, but now I get to do it for other people.
Yeah.
And other people's money gets spent on plants.
Exactly. That's much more cost effective.
Yeah. It's feeding my passion, really.
Yeah. That's wonderful. So let's see, what do you think is the vision for your business moving forward? Like, where do you see your business growing in the next few years?
Building a greenhouse. So next summer, my husband and I have it all planned out. We have 12 acres now. So our plan is to turn those acres in the back of our yard into a greenhouse, sustainable farming, and some small animals as well, because we really like to unplug a bit more off the grid as well. But the greenhouse is for SweetLife Flora. Right now I import most of my plants because of where they originate in the world, where the greenhouses are that can keep them alive for 4 seasons. They're all in Asia and South America. But if I get a 4-season greenhouse, I can start growing them here and reduce the carbon footprint of my business, but while also becoming less dependent on other businesses and people. So having a greenhouse, opening my storefront downstairs in our plant studio, I think people would drive for plants. I live in Arnprior. I think people would drive for plants.
I think they would too. How do you, this is not even related to the podcast question, but I'm really interested in the logistics of your shipping.
Okay, so shipping after I acclimatize everything, so I get plants from overseas, and they're pretty understanding that we live in Canada and we get a winter. So they do a lot of work to insulate the shipping. I have import licenses from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So they are the ones who dictate what plants I can bring in and where I can get them from. So I can apply for import licenses from almost anywhere. It's just I have to do the paperwork. And then once they get here, they acclimatize for 4 to 6 weeks because they have to get used to the Canadian climate. And then they're ready to ship. So I do winter shipping, which is pretty rare for an online plant business. I've had long discussions with Canada Post about how, like, do they leave their mail on the truck? Do they put it in a garage? That sort of thing. And I believe that Canada Post is becoming more aware that they are shipping like sensitive goods. So I use a 72-hour heat pack, and then I also put it in an insulated box liner. So I haven't had any problems so far, but we're not in the dead of winter yet. So I may have to do some trial and error. There may be some loss, and I may be giving people some money back, but we'll see. It's a trial. It's a process. My customers are helping me learn.
Exactly, right? Like this whole entrepreneurial journey is a process, and we're gonna lose some along the way and just learn from it moving forward. But yeah, I could see that being a little bit of a hurdle, like, or you'd have to think really long and hard about, right? To figure out the logistics of that. So
it's also figuring out what your customers want, right? So winter blues are a real thing. Like seasonal effectiveness disorder is a real thing. I've found that plants have helped me get over a bit of seasonal effectiveness disorder. Like when it starts to get dark outside and I wake up in the dark, all I want to do is go and play with my plants because it just gets me into the mindset to start the day, and it makes me feel better. So people want plants year round, and it's about listening to your customers and figuring out what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting into that time now, right? That seasonal affective disorder. So maybe this will be peak season for you.
Yeah, you never know.
Maybe your sales will start to go up. Actually, do you advertise that?
I do. Yeah. So I do a lot of Facebook and Instagram. Advertising. So we're at SweetLife Flora, which is just straightforward. It sounds exactly as it's spelled. And we do a lot of advertising for our restocks. We do a lot of like paid advertising as well. We're also going to be taking part in a plant, like it's like a craft fair, but we're going to be a plant vendor at the craft fair on the 16th to 17th of November. It's actually, it's on Prince of Wales. I believe it's the Hellenica Center on Prince of Wales. And it's in support of another veteran, I guess, not-for-profit. So it's helping Equine Learning program help. Yeah, so we're doing that. So it's meant for military people and first responders who struggle with PTSD and operational stress injury. And they get to go and take part in like learning how to ride horses and getting close to the animals and things like that. So it's a therapy program.
Mm-hmm. That's really, it's good that you're like still, you're very much involved in the community and in the veterans community especially. So it's really good that
Absolutely. A lot of my friends have been deployed. A lot of my friends came back with PTSD, OSIs, injuries, and I want to do whatever I can to use my business as a platform to support them.
Well, thank you for doing that. So I just want to talk about, I know we kind of went over the logistics of shipping and maybe that would be a challenge, but what's the greatest challenge that you faced in your business to date?
I would say right now, I'm going through it right now. Taking myself from being a sole entrepreneurship into incorporation. So I've had to find a lawyer to help me do that. I'm going through all of my accounting to make sure it's all set up. It's not something I would have thought I'd gotten to the point of. Like, I always thought I'd just be a sole proprietorship. Like, it just seems easy, right? But then you think about how important it is to incorporate and to protect your brand and those sort of things.
Mm-hmm. That's, well, so is your mentor helping you a lot with that? I know you said that.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
really great in that regard.
The Princess Trust community is as well, because other people who have gone through the incorporation process, they have recommended a lawyer, they've recommended an accountant. So I'm really reaching out to that community that I know and taking information from them.
Yeah, we went through that not long ago as well, and it was just, it's really hard to navigate. It's like, I just found it a big challenge. So it's nice to have somebody holding your hand when you're going through it, right? Exactly.
You have to think about what paperwork you need and you're accounting for everything that you've put into your business already. So I use the experts. I'm not an expert, so I use the experts.
Good. It's important when you're an entrepreneur, because I think a lot of people just try to do everything all at once and then they don't do it all well, right? So it's good to,
a funny story
when you can, right?
A funny story is that I used to teach engineering economics at military college. Well, I can tell you that math is a lot different than the stuff you need to do for business. Here I am thinking I'm setting these kids up for success, and I'm like, you got a lot to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Find yourself an accountant and make them your best friend.
Absolutely. What do you know now that you wish that you had known when you were first starting out your business?
That is a really tough question. I think I wish I would have known how much space things are going to take. So I've got my personal collection like in the back of the room, and then the front of the room is like entirely covered with plants that are going to be for sale. So there's different stages of the operation. There's when I just get plants in, then I have to quarantine them, then I have to acclimatize them, and then they're ready for sale. So I think if I would have like thought about the logistics about space a little bit more, I probably could have done a better job of it right up front. I've sort of organized things now, but the greenhouse will definitely help us. Also, the transitioning process out of the military, it's hard psychologically. So I've been dependent on the military since I was 17. Like, I always know when I'm going to get a paycheck. I don't have to think about what I need to wear when I wake up in the morning because I'm just going to wear a uniform. I always know that I have a job. So that security as well, getting used to the idea that I'm going to be reliant completely on myself. I need to put it all behind me, and I have a great transition team, both medically and on the logistics side. So they're helping me transition out. It's been actually a really good process so far. I'm technically posted to the transition center right now, which is the unit that actually helps you through the process of leaving the military. So they've been phenomenal. Like my section commander, Sergeant or P.O. Boudelier, he's been amazing.
Yeah. That's so great that you have that support moving forward into this next step. I mean, yeah, it's like what you just said is super relevant for, I think, many entrepreneurs who are leaving their corporate jobs or whatever full-time gig they were doing before, right? And just making that leap into something unknown and exciting, but it is the unknown. So
absolutely, and people aren't used to they get into this habit. The military is like a habit. And I need to learn how to become less dependent on it.
You will. I believe you will. So what advice would you give an entrepreneur looking to start a business in Ottawa right now? Is there any
Planning. Yep. So having an idea is great. Being able to build a website is great, but you need to not just plan for your startup, but plan where your business is going to go as well. It will help you with financing. It'll help you with legal. Also asking questions. So don't be afraid to go and socialize and ask questions from other entrepreneurs and learn from them. That was one thing that I was really, really nervous about because my background is totally different than everyone else. But I found that the community is super supportive and they'll answer your questions. They'll even set you up with the people and the numbers and the phone numbers you need. So plan and don't be afraid to ask questions.
That's pretty big. That's great advice.
And be okay admitting your weaknesses.
Yeah, be okay with admitting your weaknesses. Now, this is a similar question, but what was the best piece of advice that you've ever received from somebody else?
So this is going to be a kicker for Nike, but just do it. Because the intervention that I had with my friend and my sister was probably the most profound moment of my life, where they were actually like, Kristin, just start your business. It's what you want to be doing. You don't need the government job and the steady paycheck because you can make it on your own. So having somebody point out that I had the ability to succeed, it was a nice thing to hear, but also I needed to hear it. So I would say that is probably the most important advice. Just do it. Yeah. Just get out there.
Leap of faith.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to move into a new kind of section. It's called, we're just going to do some rapid fire questions. And I don't want you to think too much about your answers, just kind of spit out whatever's on your mind. And so it's going to be 8 questions in a row, and just answer them as quickly as you can. So question number 1, if you weren't doing what you're doing right now for work, what would you be doing instead?
I probably would have taken the RCMP job that I was offered.
So you were offered it, and then your sister, I can't remember who else, but
my friend Sue Ellen.
So you were offered an RCMP job, and then
yeah, and they're like, you're just going to get yourself into the same situation again where you're going to be overloaded. You work 110% all the time, and it's just not good for your health. So I would probably be putting myself in harm's way because it's comfortable if I didn't have someone point it out.
You're lucky to have those people behind you and supporting you.
I really am.
Okay, Question number 2, what book are you currently reading? What books would you recommend to our audience?
So I have a penchant for science fiction and for fantasy. So I'm reading books. Hold on, it's right underneath my computer, by Samantha Shannon.
What's it called?
The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. It's fantasy. It just helps me unplug, takes me out of the headspace that I'm currently in, and I don't have to think about anything.
That's awesome. Are you a morning or a night person?
Morning. No question.
If you had to pick one word to describe yourself, what would it be and why?
So prior to my concussion, it would have been, I relied on my intelligence and it's who I was. But now I would say that it's probably my friendliness and my ability to interact with customers.
That's awesome. What is keeping you up at night these days, if anything?
Honestly, chronic pain. And my husband snoring.
And your husband snoring. So you don't sleep very well, I take it. No. Yeah. Well, hopefully you can get enough rest to kind of recharge you for the morning. I have 2 kids that keep me up all night too, so I know how it is.
Oh, yeah?
All.
Yeah. Well, my dogs do sleep in my bed too, so.
Yeah, it's hard. What's your favorite place in the whole world?
My plant room.
Your plant room.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. I guess it could kind of feel like a rainforest in there anyways, right?
Yeah, so when we were designing the house, we actually had to think about the humidity issue. And so it does, you walk into the room, it's a few degrees warmer, it's a little bit more humid, it's easier to breathe. And everything stops.
Yeah.
It's just such a great space.
That's amazing. So you guys built your house after, you designed your house after starting
my concussion.
After concussion.
So my husband released from the military in 2017, and he was going to need a space because he is contemplating starting his own business as well. So he gets the man cave in the garage to do all of that.
That's awesome.
And then we built the potential storefront downstairs for me.
Mm-hmm. That's great. What are 3 non-negotiables that have to happen in your morning routine?
Coffee. Can I say it more than once? Coffee.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, so coffee is very important to me. I take the dogs for a walk. And then I end up in the plant room even before I have breakfast. So I would say those are the 3 things that I do. Coffee is first. I am not a person you want to talk to without coffee.
Without coffee. Neither am I. I would have to agree with you there. Like, I was recently just needed to go to Tim Hortons every morning before doing anything. But
Double doubles.
Double doubles, that's right.
We call it the military standard. It's a double double.
Is it double double? I think that's
so
a Canadian standard.
Probably, but anytime someone's going for coffee in the office, you're like, military standard.
Yeah, that's awesome. Whoa, okay, so last but not least, okay, so this is the last question, and we ask this to all of our guests on Canada's podcast. It's a little bit weird, but there's a small tropical island in the middle of the ocean with only 1 phone booth and no internet. We drop you off with no technology at all. At any time, you can use the phone booth on the island to call the boat and come pick you up. How long would you last before making that phone call? And what would you do until then?
I'm on a tropical island, surrounded by plants that are tropical. I could probably last a long time. I was actually just talking about this with my husband. So a similar question. There's a television show where they drop you off in the middle of a forest, and it's like the one who can last the longest would win.
Okay.
I would I would beat my husband because he has no sense of direction whatsoever. So, and like I grew up out in the country, so I think I'd last a while. But if I didn't, I'd call my husband to come and get me.
Yeah. Your husband could come too.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, there you go. And then you can go gather up, you can go take samples of all the rare tropical plants that you need to find.
Yeah. Yeah, and he can cook.
Yeah, he can cook. You can find some coconuts and bananas somewhere. Yeah, so that's all the questions that I have for you today. Is there anything else that you want to share with me before we say goodbye?
This has been really fun, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So anybody who's military and who is contemplating starting a business, I totally recommend reaching out to Prince's Trust, because they will help you out. They'll get you the resources that you need, and it's a really great program. And check out By Veteran, because there are so many other great businesses out there.
Absolutely. So where can our listeners and viewers find you online?
So we have a website, SweetLifeFlora.ca. So the shop is actually there as well. I also update the front page with lots of new information. We're on Instagram and Facebook at SweetLife Flora, just exactly how it sounds. And you can always email me at info@sweetlifeflora.ca.
Awesome. All right, Kristin, it's been a pleasure talking to you today and learning about your journey. And I know this interview is just going to be right in time for Remembrance Day. So thank you for serving our country and serving the nation, and being a wonderful entrepreneur and sharing this journey with our listeners and me.
Thank you so much for having me, Leslie.
No problem.